Hey guys, I thought I'd do this quick video just to talk a bit about the way the Bok management are looking at the selections at the moment. There's been a lot, I've seen a lot on social media, a lot in forums and a lot on bottom of articles, people commenting about who should be picked and who shouldn't be picked. And while it's understandable, we all have our favourites and we all have players we think should be there. I think we have to trust the process that the Bok management have got. They've got a very short international season, a shortened Rugby Championship. They don't have much time, and they're getting players back, especially in the overseas players situation, where some of those players have had to go through resting periods and things like that, which are enforced by their clubs. And so that all has to be juggled together to put out a team that's obviously they feel is going to win. They also want to give every guy a reasonable chance of making the World Cup squad, while keeping the teams as strong as possible and obviously trying to win every single test match. So it's a bit of a recipe, it's a bit of a juggling act for them, and I don't think it's easy. I think it's one of those things until you're close to the team or till you're in the team, it's a lot easier to say we pick this guy and this guy. And of course, there are always those factors that we don't know about. Personal factors with players that something might be affecting a player. They might be struggling with a bit of a niggling injury, not bad enough to keep him out of a game, but something that could affect their performance. And the Boks have to take all this into account when they make these decisions. So I think you've got to keep all that in mind when you talk about that. Having said that, though, I think the one thing you have to realise as well when you look at the way they're picking teams at the moment, they've had 5 or 6 games to the World Cup. We're now at the point where they played 2. Saturday will be their 3rd one, and then they've got another 2 before the World Cup starts in earnest. And in that time, they've tried to spread the load, in their words, as much as possible. And I think Jacques has really tried, and Rossi and them to give every player a chance and put them in combinations that they can test out combinations, that by the time they get to the World Cup they know what they've got in their bag of tricks, so to speak. This is what Jacques said the other day when we asked him about who gets selected and who doesn't get selected.
No, I think in terms of hooker, other positions, bomb squad, I think obviously if you look at the amount of game minutes that Bongi had, he's probably had a little bit more minutes test match exposure than Malcolm, obviously, because he was playing in the 2 games. So, and again, it comes back to the thing. I think if we as a group know that defending the World Cup will take a squad effort, and our challenge is to make sure that we spread that load between the squad. We don't want to go in cold against Scotland in that first game of the World Cup, and with 1 or 2 guys having the majority of the match minutes, and then if you pick up an injury or 2, you're bringing a guy in who's cold, who hasn't been part of you. So I think that's the balance that we would like to have. You don't want one guy taking 80% of the minutes and the other guy not getting a lot of opportunity. So we're trying to balance that. And again, sometimes it does come at a bit of a risk, but we believe that the team that we selected for Australia was good enough to beat Australia. We believe that the team that we selected for New Zealand was good enough to beat New Zealand. And I think we knew they're going to be probably a little bit cold going into that game because a lot of them haven't played rugby for a long time. And I thought they got a little bit stronger as the game went on. And now we've got a game, the team that we selected to play against Argentina, we believe is good enough to play against Argentina. Listen, obviously the guys that haven't had exposure yet, it would be nice to give them a little bit, to give them a go in the next couple of games that we have left, which will be Argentina away and then Wales and New Zealand. It would be great if that can be, but there's a lot of things that will determine that, momentum, form, injuries and stuff like that.
There's also going to be those players who don't get a chance. I mean, I think we might have a situation where some of the players don't get a chance to feature in these tests and may miss out on World Cup selection. And there's always going to be guys that are going to miss out on World Cup selection. That's just part of the game, and it's unfortunate because we've really got a lot of talent in this country. But then you've got to ask yourself, at the end of the day, they have a plan and they know how to. I think we can trust them. They've won a World Cup. They know what they want in that squad. They know what they need in that group as well. And versatility comes high on the list there. So sometimes a player is a bit more versatile will make it ahead of a player who is just good in one position. I think that counted against Andre Esterhuizen the last time out. I think it might count against him again, even though I feel he's a better player now than he was 4 years ago. But it all depends what the Boks have in their arsenal, what they can take with. They've been struggling with 2 injuries with Siya Kolisi and Andre Pollard. Obviously, in their plans, they feel both players are exceptionally important to their plans at the World Cup. It's very understandable. And while Manie Libbok has been almost the informed fly of the season, Andre Pollard's got the experience, and I think Manie is the type of guy who will grow into the position as he goes on. Damian Willemse was a stopgap, and I think they see him more as a bench player anyway. Somebody who can step in the role in an emergency, but who can fulfill that role on the bench as well. So I think also experience counts a lot at World Cups. Those moments are crucial, and we have seen Manie have 1 or 2 in URC where he's been under pressure and he's sort of struggled a little bit. I think that happens to any player, but I think he'll probably learn as he goes on, and he'll get better and better. But those are the type of things that they keep in mind. And when you want to go to a World Cup with a fly half who's not that experienced, I think it does count a bit against him. That's why they want Andre back. Siya, his leadership on the team is a great example, and he's a guy who does a lot of work off the ball, disrupting opposition rucks, and finds himself in the tram lines to help the Bok attack on the wings as well. So he's extremely important to the Boks as well. So those 2 places as well. But what we've seen is them try and spread the load, give players enough game time, give them a chance to prove themselves, and give those players who stood up a chance to prove themselves again. I think the halfback combination against Argentina, Grant Williams and Manie Libbok, is extremely exciting. Grant Williams is the perfect example of a player sort of kicking the door down for selection. Where that leaves the rest of the scrum halves is anyone's guess. Certainly a player like Herschel Yankees seems to be in a bit of a no man's land at the moment. I think Jaden Hendricks will probably play in Buenos Aires against Argentina. It would be interesting to see who's the backup scrum half there. If the Boks go for Faf de Klerk, or if they, Herschel might not even get a chance. Same goes at flank for Dion Fourie, who was definitely probably the best 6th flank in URC, but hasn't really had a chance just yet. And I think part of it's been Marco van Stalen's exceptional performance at Loftus that they wanted to give him another go. But there's obviously factors they take into account with these things. Still, you look at the front row, and they've interchanged the front row. I think when it comes to the hooker position, they obviously see Malcolm as making much more of an impact with the bench. I think it doesn't really matter in either of all 3 of those front row positions. All those guys in the squad can pitch in at any time and put up their hand for performance. But I know Malcolm is somebody everybody's favourite at the moment, and everybody wants him. But Bongi certainly is not on the form that they'd want him to be, and they'd want him to try and get a bit more on form with that. But if you've got both those hookers, there's very little to choose between them, and both fulfill a different role, but both of them are devastating. I think the guy is probably unlucky there, and who probably is the 3rd hooker, Joseph Dwebo, who hasn't really had a look in just yet. He had a good URC with the Stormers as well, but you haven't seen him in the test arena, and there's still been some people's minds doubts about him. But overall, I think what you've got to look at is that the Boks have a plan, and these selections might not always be the strongest team that they can put out there, but they're mixing and matching combinations. They're trying to see what works, and I think those of us who've been to World Cups, and anybody who's watched a number of World Cups, knows that there's a number of injuries that happened pretty early on in the tournament. I think of Frans Steyn had to step up when Jean de Villiers was out. Jean de Villiers in 2015 also went out as captain. In 2019, Jesse got injured as well. There's all these injuries that do happen, and the French players do get a chance to play. So I don't think it's the end of the world. I think these tests are there to build your squad, and what matters is what you arrive in France with on September 10 when they play Scotland. Being said, we all want to see a winning Springbok team every time they run out, and that's understandable as well, and they know that just as well as we do. But at the end of the day, I think you've got to trust the process, and I know it's not always nice because we always want to see the strongest Springbok team, and we want to see them win, especially when they lose. A lot of the criticisms teams to come back to the team. I think what we will see is probably closer to the time when they get to Twickenham to play the All Blacks. That selection will be crucial to see, because that's the last game before the World Cup. Do they play their strongest squad, or do they go with another mix or match, and how that affects the team that plays Scotland in the first time. I think they've been quite clear. They've got a tough group. It's a group where the inches are going to matter, and even the smaller sides, such as Tonga, are going to be extremely physical and difficult to play against in a World Cup where they are the underdogs and they've got the crowd behind them. So I think that's all I'm trying to do in this video. Maybe is just trying to explain a bit the way they think, and maybe put some perspective into some of the selections. I'm obviously these are my thoughts. These are not what they've said, but I think hopefully it helps you understand the way they think when they choose teams as well. That being said, those are my thoughts. I hope you enjoy them. If you agree, disagree, please leave in the comments below. It'd be interesting to see your reactions. And if you're looking for more rugby content, there's more of these videos every day on my channel, and more press conferences. And every Thursday, dm.com, the Sunday Times sports writer, and myself, Sunday Times rugby writer. I shouldn't say sports. He's a rugby specialist, Liam. We do a podcast called To The Last Drop. It's available on all the major platforms: Spotify, Amazon, Google Podcasts, Apple iTunes, and Iona FM. And we talk rugby and we talk wine, and it's a good fun conversation. So have a look out for that. Go find it if you haven't watched it already, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already either. But thanks for watching.